Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
This sponsorship break brought to you by the Ascend Mastermind. In the midst of complexity of leading your business, new challenges are introduced almost every single day. It can leave you feeling disorganized, distracted, and downright confused. It doesn't have to be this way. We believe everyone should have the ability to reach their full potential in business and life. Make the time to invest in your business because it's time to kill the grind and find new flexibility and success. You don't have to do it alone. The Ascend Mastermind Peer Advisory Board will give you access to other like-minded individuals to share your challenges with and hold you accountable. It will help you move from stagnant to growth and give you more freedom in your business and life. To learn more how to apply, go to chargepodcast.com and click on the link, The Ascend Mastermind. Happy New Year! Yes, we are coming up to the close of 2021, and that means it's recap session episode, and I'm going to tell you all about the sessions we've had, and we had a great fourth quarter of 2021. Now, first off, let me start by thanking you. Yes, you, the listener, because you've allowed us to do this for 4 years strong. Starting in 2022, we will be starting our 5th year of podcasting. And I can't thank you enough for joining me each and every week and listening to our guests and really making a difference in your life and hopefully sharing it with other people that makes a difference in their life. Now, as we get started in our 5th year, I thought it was time to change some things up. So we're going to have a little bit of a new format and a little bit of a quick speed to get into it. And we're going to ask our guests what problem they solve. And then they're going to give us the 3 questions they're going to answer. And I think you're going to really enjoy the format. I've been cutting some of them, getting ready for first quarter already, and they are turning out to be great information. So I want to share with you, because since we're closing out 2021, I want to share my gratitude with you as a listener to the Charge Podcast. First off, I hope you can hear it in my voice. The first thing I want to share is my thanks to you as the listener. You make the difference, and you're the reason I do this podcast, because I'll be honest, sometimes it's tough to get people scheduled and get them on and work it in your schedule. But I think about, how will that make a difference to the listener that's listening to it? So I just want to thank you for being a listener and sharing our podcast and letting other people know about it. The second thing I want to be grateful for is our guest, because without them, I wouldn't be able to have the podcast, because they bring their perspectives, their expertise to the table, and really they share openly. They don't get paid to do this. It allows them to get exposed, but they do it in the honor to serve you, the listener, the charger. So I truly appreciate our guest. And the third thing, I truly am grateful that I get this opportunity to impact others and to make a difference in their life. And that's really the reason I do this, is for that impact. I love speaking to audiences and having that light bulb moment go on. And to me, podcasting is part of that moment that I can make a difference to you by sharing someone with you and some information that may impact your life for the rest of your life. So as you get ready to go into 2022, I hope you're setting some goals, because remember, it's the Charge Podcast. Create habits around real goals every day. And when you set those goals, it allows you to achieve more in life. So let's get to the recap issue, and I'll share with you each of the episodes we have on and give you a recap of them. And Chris is going to give you a little bite-sized piece of that podcast. And if you didn't get to listen to it, you might check it out. So here we go. Now, in episode 194, we had Joe Pomeroy, And he is that expert about building your business. But the big thing is not building your business that you walk away from your family. And how do you treat your family like a business? And he really shared some practical steps for us on how we can really help ourselves and help us run our family like a business, but not in a negative way, in a very positive way. So listen to this clip and then check out episode 194.
For me, the number one most important thing I learned about being a provider, and this is going to go, hey, Chargers, anything that you're looking at here, my Charger friends, this is important. You get to choose how you define it. Mm-hmm. Okay. It is not defined by your parents and how you were raised. It is not defined by your pastor. It is not defined by your favorite Instagram influencer. It's not defined by Gary or me. It's this is something, and it's not defined by your boss. This is what you get to choose. So that was like, I don't know why I struggled with that so much. And I remember once that really hit me, like not just here in my head, but in my heart. When that really hit me, it opened up a whole new world, because it meant I could let go of all this, of everybody else's expectations.
Now, in episode 195, we had a blast visiting with Deborah Johnson. She shared some great information, was just releasing her new book that was coming out, but she shared with us really how, as an author, speaker, a winning music artist, how she really helps people get unstuck and really producing and executing to a successful plan in their second half of life. So if you're in that area, you ought to check out this podcast, because I think you'll really enjoy it. But listen to this little clip from Deborah on episode 195, and then go listen to the full podcast.
Well, and this is a really fun question, because I can tell you part of my creative process here is I keep notes, like little index cards of like ideas. And at first, I thought this whole thing was going to be called the creative, the imaginary, let's see, it was something about imagination or a creative journey, or social media circus, which is also in the book. But I had these little names for it. But then I thought, this is a full story. And what I'm attracted to is story. And I felt like there are so many principal books and business books, and I've written 4 of those. So, but this one is more of a story, short. It's not that long, but it goes through that realistic fantasy world that's so popular right now, to where you can hopefully spark the imagination and say, that's me.
Now, in episode 196, we had a blast visiting with C-Roc Ciorroco. Boy, I love that name, and C-Roc. And he really pumped us up in rocket fuel, how we can convert our setbacks to really becoming unstoppable. So many people play the victim. Well, C-Roc shares with us the powerhouse of how you can make a difference to yourself by those setbacks you have. We've all had setbacks, but the thing is, how do you respond to them? Listen to this clip and then check out episode 196.
Yeah, I mean, another mentor that I have, and by the way, I believe in advisors and mentors. Like, this is like something that has changed everything for me. One of my other mentors, Brandon Dawson, talks about his 3 A's. And when you learn something from me, when I'm telling you about the ego and the fear and the judgment, and the fact that we got these beliefs when we were young, based on these 3 keepers that Richie talks about, Brandon talks about 3 A's, which, really stick with me, is acknowledge it, accept it, and then do something, act. So you acknowledge the fact that you got these 3 things keeping you in. You accept it that okay, this is okay. I see how that could be, and then you do something about it. But and I'll add another A in there, because you have to be aware of it. And by me telling you this, and if you're listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, now you're aware of it. So that's really 4 A's: awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance, and then act. And the action has to be fast. It can't be something that you sit around on, because then these thoughts start swirling in your head. Like, wait a minute, is it really ego? Is it really judgment? Is it really fear? Is it really this something I learned when I was younger? What is it? No. Act. When you decide to do something and those 3 things try to keep you back, don't let them keep you back. Take time out and act fast. And when you do that, you starve fear, you starve ego, you starve judgment, because the thing that fuels those three things is time.
Now, in episode 197, we had a great visit with Peter Docker. Peter Docker really is all about leadership and shared some really things that for us to think about of how we can be a leader with our teams and with ourselves. And really in his 25-year career in the Royal Air Force, he has leadership ability, and he shared some nuggets with us. So listen to this clip from Peter Docker on episode 197. And then I would tell you, this is one of those must listen to podcasts. So make sure you go listen to the full podcast.
You know, there are only two things in this world. This is as simple as it gets. There are only two things. There is content and there is context. Content is like all the jigsaw puzzle pieces on the table. Yeah. As a kid, or maybe now we still have jigsaws, yeah. But it's only when we see the picture on the box that all those puzzle pieces make sense. The picture on the box is the context. It gives meaning to the puzzle pieces. And so it is in our life, in our work, in our relationships. We will have the context, the content, the stuff that we do, the things that we're engaged in, the things that we say. But without the context, it has no meaning whatsoever. But here's the thing, you know, we can choose, if we're not making progress in a particular area in our life, we can choose to shift the context, bring different meaning to what it is we're looking at.
Now, in episode 198, we got to talk to Dr. Ian Brooks. He is the founder and CEO of Road Smith Consulting. It's a personal and professional development firm. But the big thing is, he specializes in behavior transformations, and he's written a book called Intention, Building Capabilities to Transform Your Story. So I think this information, it's about being more intentional. So Dr. Brooks shares some of those secrets with us in this podcast. As you listen to this clip, listen to it, and then check out the full podcast, because going into the new year of 2022, this would be a good one to really make yourself be more intentional about the results you want in 2022. So listen to this clip on episode 198 from Dr. Ian Brooks.
The second piece, I would say, and I'll take a quote from a gentleman by the name of Niccolo Machiavelli in his book, The Prince, that he wrote in, I believe, in 1532. And his quote in there said, "He who lays his foundations does not lay his foundations beforehand, may do so with great ability afterwards, but with great trouble to the architect and danger to the building." That quote really resonates with me in what I work with my clients on, because if you don't have a foundation, and if you just rush in to solve, I can almost guarantee you that you might have the ability to go do it in the back end. I'm quite confident you could, right? Because that's what we always do. But that doesn't mean it's right. But if you're really trying to transform and really taking that next step, trust to build the foundation that you need before moving forward. Because if not, it is going to be great trouble to you to go back and try to do it. And let's be honest, how many times do we actually really go back? And when we do go back, and by the time when we're really focused on going back and trying to fix something, it is going to be great danger to the building, because now we're going to start pulling things away and changing things that are going to be destructive. And guess what? All those things that we built our lives around, all that dirt that we swept underneath the rug, it will become a mountain and be twice as much work. So please trust yourself and never forget to build your foundations, because that's going to build your capabilities moving forward.
Now, we had many nuggets we learned in episode 199, because I'm telling you, Brian Rowland and I had a great conversation, and I couldn't even cut it off. We was sharing so much great information. I could not share this information. So we went a little longer than normal on a podcast, but he shared so many nuggets. He talks about having a foundation of trust and respect, lean organization, how to create the right fit for your people. And then when you get people to join your team, how do you do that? And he does this all remotely and is creating a business that is a faith-driven entrepreneur and really makes a difference in that. Now, how do you fill those gaps in your business? So make sure you listen to this podcast on episode 199. Brian Rowland shares some great information for us.
It wasn't necessarily me that changed. It was just the environment. Something I loved turned into something that was a burden. And so I was looking for more meaningful work at the time. And so when I was sitting with my brother, we were sitting at a Starbucks in Cool Springs, and my wife to be was there, and I said, if we start this, I want our why to be outside of our company. I want our why to be outside of our brand, outside of our products and services. I was like, our company, our brand, our products and our services, our industry, they're all going to let us down. Like there is no place for us to put our identity in any of those things. They're all going to let us down. And if they let us down, and we built everything on that, then, our house that we built is just going to crumble.
I can almost hear it now. Celebrate good time. Celebrate. Hey, do you remember that song from Kool and the Gang? Well, on the episode 200, we did some celebration because this was a special episode because it's number 200. Most podcasts don't make it out of the teens. We've been over 200. We've done this for 4 years now. So this special guest was me. I was the guest. Matt Ward, my buddy, interviewed me, and we shared some real knowledge about a mastermind that I'm getting ready to launch in 2022. And it's going to be a virtual mastermind. So wherever you're at, you can participate in the mastermind. So if you'd like to know more about a mastermind and the benefits of it, then check out episode 200 from this special guest, Gary Woobers. Listen to this clip and then make sure you check out the full podcast. But I think the key is if the person's willing to learn and is willing to be accountable. And I think that is the benefits of it, is the accountability aspect. Because as a small business owner, you don't answer to anyone, to maybe your spouse, but really you answer to a lot of people. But the only thing is you don't have to answer. But when you get in a group like this, you can tell yourself you're going to be accountable to that group. And if you're willing to do that, that's when achievements really start to happen, because you see personally as well as professionally, you grow. You see that your income increases. And normally, if you're doing it right, what happens along with income when it increases, what you want to happen is profits grow.
Yeah.
And then really you can get those creative solutions to reach those bigger goals and really move your business next level. Because a lot of business owners, we know this, Matt, is the challenge they have. They're stuck in the day-to-day operation.
Mm-hmm. They're working in the business, not on it.
Exactly. Now, in episode 201, we kept the momentum rolling with Steve Captain Hoffman. I'm telling you, Captain Hoffman shared some great information with us. Or they call him by short, Captain Hoff. Now, he shared up on startups, some things you need to think about. So in your business, maybe you're not a startup. But I will tell you, he gave a secret about finding those ideal clients and figuring out your path that you should go. And where is the gap in your business? And what is the gap that you serve with your clients? Now, this was jam-packed with information. I've already referred this about a dozen times to clients and tell them to listen to this. So if you're in business, listen to this podcast, listen to this clip, and then go to episode 201 and make sure you to listen to the full podcast and see where you fill the gap in your business and make a difference for yourself, because that will make more profits for you in the long run. Episode 201. Here's the clip.
Your entrepreneur's job is not to just come up with a brilliant idea, because there are lots of brilliant ideas out there that make terrible businesses. I know people and they have these amazing ideas, but they're not practical. There's no demand out there for the product or service. So instead of starting with some abstract idea that you want to do, a really great way to start a business is search for demand. Entrepreneurs' number one job when they start a company, if they want it to be successful, is search where's their demand in the world. People need something. So if you can fill that need, you're doing a good thing, right? If they're, whatever their need is, go into the world and start to look for what I call pent up pockets of demand. And there are always new ones being formed because the world is always changing. So it's not a static place. And your job is the entrepreneur's job is like an oil wildcatter where you're sinking wells. A lot of them will come up dry, each one. But when you hit a gusher, you know it, because that's what propels your business. Suddenly you hit something. People are going, I got to have that. I got to have that. Can you get that to me? Can you actually do that for me? Nobody else seems to be able to do it. Then you know you have a business.
Now, I had a blast having on episode 202, Joe Sanic. He's written a book called Thursday is the New Friday. And if you remember, he held me to something to start doing January in this podcast. Well, I won't make you listen to the whole thing, but I hope you do, because I think you'll see it's worthwhile. I am going to start taking off on Fridays. And that is going to start, I said May, but he convinced me, and he's going to be my accountability partner. We're going to start that January 1. So this is going to be something that you can help hold me accountable to as you go forward. But check out this podcast, because he gives you a new way of thinking about how we need to do productivity in our business. Instead of working 40 hours, maybe we need to be more productive in the hours that we work. And Joe shares all those secrets with us. So listen to this clip and then check out episode 202.
Yeah. And that's one of the big shifts, is that we're applying these principles and we're testing and experimenting in how it works for your business. Just yesterday, I was on LinkedIn News, and I was there with a CEO that they found that taking Wednesdays off works better for their business. So they do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. This is company-wide. This is a huge company. And then Thursday, Friday. And so we're experimenting and trying to see what works. We're not saying it's always got to be Friday, but we're saying, let's try it. Let's try from the menu. So I would start with that. The other side of it is to make sure that we're thinking through, like, what are we doing personally? So then in September of 2015, I decided I'm going to stick with that 4-day work week. And then over time, continue to do other time experiments. Tried out taking Mondays off in addition to Fridays, tried, doing every other week where we took Wednesdays off, really forced myself to work as few hours as possible.
Now, in episode 203, we had a blast sharing Matthew Turner, and he's a British author who wrote his latest book, Beyond the Pale. So I think the thing that you really see is what Matthew has done. He's interviewed hundreds of successful entrepreneurs, authors, investors, and thought leaders. But the thing is, when he wrote his book, he made a difference of what the difference you want to make in your life, of sharing those stories from his book, and really how you as an entrepreneur can learn from this fable and really get out of that anti-hustle, just like we talked about with Joe, and why the hustle culture is so toxic, and what changes do we need to make in our life. So it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not, this podcast will apply to you. So check out episode 203, and then make sure you go listen to the full podcast.
But for me, the real toxic nature of the hustle in today's world is this constantly being connected to the online world, and therefore constantly connected to others. Most of us right now, like, you're probably watching or reading, listening to this, and you will either have a phone, a tablet, or a laptop within reach. And you might be doing it right now, listening to this, but scrolling through your emails, scrolling through an article, distracting yourself with other things. We're constantly connected. There's always that temptation to be doing two things at once. We might be switched off for the day and don't have any work, but we're still thinking about work. But because it's no longer at the office, we can just pick up our phone and check our emails. Not because we're going to do anything with it, but just because we can. So therefore, we're just switching on to work a little bit more than we need to.
Now, I had a blast sharing with you in episode 204, Yinka Emily. Man, I had a hard time pronouncing that, and still do. But Yinka was on episode 204, and she shared with us, she's an excellent strategist and an excellent coach. And I tell you, she gave us some excellent stuff to listen to. And I tell you, why is our goal our life's purpose? And how can we equip our leaders to be transformational habits in their life and creating systems of excellence? Yinka shares that with us in this podcast. And it's one you need to listen to, because if you want to take it to the next level in 2022, listen to episode 204 from Yinka, and she'll give you some strategies that you can use.
Well, first of all, as a leader, you should be skilled at what you do. You should know your work and do the best. You have to keep learning, because leadership, Gary, as you know, carries a lot of influence and responsibility. And the decisions that we make as leaders don't just affect us alone, they are compounded. So a leader should be skilled at the work he or she does. Another one that I have here is a leader should be accountable. And using Joab as an example, we saw that as he rose higher in ranks, he got to a place where even his own boss, the king, was scared of him. And there was no one that could say to him, you know what, you missed the mark in this area. You know, as a leader, we never want to, because that's just the beginning of the end. We never want to get to that place of where there's nobody that can, you know, come up to us and say to us, you know, you missed the mark over there. So accountability is a big one.
Now you talk about a sage person. That was Richard Flint on episode 205. Man, he's been around the block, but he shared so many nuggets with us. Things like be better, be smarter, be stronger. I'm telling you, how do you make a difference in your life? How about the 3 A's? Adapt, adjustments, and align. He shared the behavior never lies. Essence is the truth. There's so many nuggets in this podcast that I'll tell you what, you're going to have your notebook to write them all down, because I had a hard time getting them all on my piece of paper as he was speaking about them. So check out this episode, little clip, and then go listen to the full episode of 205, because this will help set you up for success in 2022. Episode 205, Richard Flint.
And without these 4 questions, you're always going to be lost. Question number 1, what do I really want? And the operative word there is really. It's not what do I want? What do I really want? Because that makes it specific. Question number 2, why do I really want this? That's my level of understanding and commitment. And then question number 3, huge, and it's where a lot of people break down. What price am I willing to pay to have it? Huge, because there's a price tag with everything you want to do with your life. And then question number 4, which is the directional question. What behaviors will I have to improve to get there? And if your chargers would take this and just use these 4 questions to plan their year, you would be amazed how much clarity they have. And clarity creates calmness. Calmness creates confidence.
What a fourth quarter. Episode 206 is our recap issue that you're listening to right here. There's so many great podcasts to go back to, so I challenge you. Go back and listen to the ones that you haven't got in yet. And thank you for being that loyal listener. I call you the Chargers because you want to charge in your life. So thank you for giving me your time and giving me your space to really share some messages with you. Now, I only ask one little favor. Here's the favor. Pick out which 2 or 3 podcasts you really enjoy, and then pick out someone that you would like to send that to. Send that to 2 people each. So I'm asking you to send out 6 of them. Now, if you've never done this, all you have to do is go to your podcast app on your phone. There's 3 little dots there. Press that button, and it will let you share it through a text message. And I know you've got friends in your phone that would love to hear these messages, but tell them, hey, I was just thinking of you and thought this be a great podcast. I've listened to it and I wanted to share it with you. If you would do that, I truly appreciate it. And as I kind of close out 2021 and kind of reflect back, I've shared with you in the beginning of what we're doing. I want to reflect back and thank you for all that you're doing, but also want to announce we're going to kind of have a new format. And I shared that at the beginning. So we're going to start that out in 2022 with the new format. And I hope you truly enjoy it. Give me some feedback. All you have to do is go to our chargepodcast.com where all the show notes are, and you can give us some feedback right there. Now, as I leave you today, and I leave you at the end of 2021, if you're listening to this, it's the last few days of 2021. I want you to think about this. It's a saying that I share every time I close out a speech when I'm working with an audience and sharing my message of positive culture wins. And here's that message. Give of yourself freely, love openly, and make a difference each day. If we do that, we're going to make it a great day. And we're going to have that positive culture that we pass on to others. And our society needs it today. So be that positive influence on others and make it a great day. Thanks for joining me, Chargers. See you back here in 2022 with our first podcast guest. Make it a great day.
This podcast is ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.